let's talk about a date. February 24th, 2026. This was a day that's going to go down in gaming history. I mean, on this one single day, the very foundations of the industry, they didn't just crack. They were hit by one shockwave after another. So today, we're going to do an autopsy of that tipping point, using the incredible intel from the Tekin report to really figure out what happened and why it matters.
And this one line from the report, man, it just perfectly captures the absolute chaos of that morning. This wasn't about 5-year plans anymore. Nope, this was about pure minute-to-minute survival. The entire rulebook was literally being torn up as everyone watched.
And that is exactly what this is, an autopsy. We're going to break down all the critical news bombs that dropped, one by one, to really understand how an entire industry got reshaped in less than 24 hours.
Okay, so first up, the titans, the big dogs. With the market basically in free fall, you better believe Sony and Nintendo weren't just sitting around. They were making absolutely massive strategic moves, but in completely opposite ways.
So Sony, they kind of found themselves on the back foot, you know? The GTA 6 delay hit them hard, and all these leaks from their competitors meant they were losing control of the conversation. So, what was their response? A classic, full-blown emergency counterattack. They're not messing around with slick hype trailers, they are bringing out the heavy artillery. The goal here is just pure shock and awe, a brutal reminder to everyone that PlayStation is still the king of those big, high-fidelity, cinematic games.
So while Sony was planning this huge, loud media blitz, Nintendo did what Nintendo does best. They played the silent assassin. Word got out that mass production of the Switch 2 had officially kicked off. And the strategy here is it's brilliant. It's not just about launching a new console, it's about totally dominating the market by stockpiling units to make sure the scalpers who ruined the last generation can't touch them this time. And their trump card? A custom AI chipset. We're talking tech like DLSS that gives you amazing, power-efficient performance on the go and beautiful 4K graphics when it's docked.
So when you put them side by side, you see this amazing contrast, right? It's a chess match. Sony is fighting a reactive war for the headlines, using its blockbuster games as its main weapon. But Nintendo, they're fighting a proactive war for the market itself, using supply chain dominance and smart, efficient tech as their weapon of choice. Two giants, two totally different game plans for survival.
But the console war, that wasn't the only hardware drama going down. Over on the PC side of things, the relentless push for more and more power was creating a very different kind of problem. A problem with the actual laws of physics.
Leaks started pouring out about Nvidia's next generation of graphics cards, the 5000 series. And by all accounts, the power is just reality-bending. But that power comes with a cost. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about raw, physical energy.
And here's the first number that just made everyone's jaw hit the floor. The base power draw for the top-of-the-line GPU by itself is projected to be over 600 watts. I mean, that's more than a lot of people's entire high-end PCs draw today. But oh, it gets worse.
Because to run that 600-watt monster, gamers are going to need to upgrade their entire power supply to a massive 1200 to 1500-watt unit. This points to a really fundamental problem. You know, Moore's Law, that idea that chips get twice as powerful every couple of years, well, it is smashing headfirst into a wall of physics. We can't just keep making things smaller and faster without turning our computers into actual furnaces.
So just as hardware was hitting this physical wall, this new force was coming out of Silicon Valley, one that threatened to make all the old rules of making games completely irrelevant. And this, my friends, is where the story takes a truly radical turn.
This was the existential question that was suddenly on every single developer's mind after the leaks from OpenAI. The technology they were building wasn't just a small improvement. No, this was a paradigm shift. It was something that challenged the very idea of a game engine like Unreal or Unity.
So, how does it work? It's just astonishingly simple when you think about it. You don't code a world anymore. You describe it. You just feed the AI a text prompt, like a rainy cyberpunk forest. And it doesn't just make a video, it generates an entire interactive 3D world in real time. The AI is writing the code, it's calculating the physics, rendering the light, all on the fly. You can just step in and play. It's the sci-fi dream of creation made real.
Now here's the critical part. This doesn't necessarily mean developers are out of a job. What it does mean is their jobs are going to evolve dramatically. The hot new job title is going to be Spatial Prompt Engineer. The new art form isn't writing thousands of lines of code. It's about crafting the perfect, precise,
almost poetic descriptions to guide the AI into building these incredible functional worlds.
So with all this disruption happening, from consoles to hardware to AI, it was just inevitable that the old, clunky business models would start to buckle and collapse under the pressure. Some companies were trying to adapt, and others were facing extinction.
And Ubisoft was the perfect case study. Remember that whole gold rush for live service games? The always online worlds designed to be monetized forever? Well, that bubble had officially burst. After a string of commercial flops, they made a really painful but really necessary pivot. They cut their losses, they canceled a bunch of online projects, and they redirected those huge budgets back to what they do best: big, single-player, story-driven games.
But maybe the most culturally significant death was this one. Major retailers announced they were going to stop stocking physical game discs by the end of 2026. This marks the final shift. We've gone from a world where you bought a disc and you owned it to a future where we don't buy games at all. We just rent a temporary access license to use the code.
And the consequence of that is severe. It's what the report calls an absolute digital enclosure. See, if you own a disc, you own it forever. But if you only have a license, and some company decides to turn off the servers, your access to that game and that piece of art could just be deleted. Poof. Gone forever. This creates a massive crisis for anyone who cares about preserving the history of gaming. So, what do we learn when we piece all of this together? What's the ultimate takeaway from the absolute chaos of February 24th?
It's this. This one line from the report it nails it. For years, the industry evolved pretty predictably, step by step. But on this day, it became crystal clear that the rate of change isn't a straight line anymore. It's exponential. The leaps in tech, the collapse of business models, it's all happening at a speed we have just never seen before.
The old ways of thinking are gone. The old strategies are dead servers. So the final question from this whole autopsy, it isn't just for the big corporations or the developers, it's for all of us. The code of the entire industry has been completely rewritten. The real question is, have you updated your own?